Hello, my name's James, pointer and shooter behind the project A Portrait of a Wrestler, and I welcome you to this, our latest video looking back at our fellowship project from 2014, nearing the end now, and the shoot we're going to be covering for you today is a gentleman by the name of Crusher Crutis, a really high level judo player. I understand they're judo players, who first came to us on the recommendation of everyone else who went to the Revolution Pro Wrestling Training School. He's one of the first people who sort of like got on board with the project quite early on. A former bouncer as well, and just a real gentle giant, a nice guy. He came to the studio fairly recently to come and see us for some new shots, and I always like seeing him. He's very say what you see. He's very straight up, straightforward, to the point, and he spent loads of time sharing stories with us about his time, you know, with Leon White, formerly known as Vader, when he came over to wrestle for Rev Pro, who sadly passed away earlier this year. Crusher's cool. Let's have a look at some of the images. We're going to start off with this one here. Simple 2-light setup, 1 light either side, 2 catch lights just either side of the pupils there in the middle of the face, but just a real simple intensity and look to the picture. And you can see he's got tattoos all over the place, so we're going to want to make the most of those from this shoot, as well as him being quite a tall guy and quite an intimidating figure. Experimenting with profile pictures here and with motion blur and just catching the edge of the profile here, just a little bit of detail there just across the face, tiny little catch light in the eye. For me, there's not enough light in this one anymore, and it's really not making the most of his wonderful, you know, sort of like tattoos and detail there and story that's being told there. So moving away from that one. This is where we got quite a low angle, quite a high quiche setup again, and just let the light spill around my studio. And what that created when we put a little bit of HDR on the post-processing and a little bit of detail and pulling a little bit of detail out, is we see all of this detail on the back wall, making it look like brushstrokes, because it kind of is brushstrokes, is where we've painted the wall, and you just wouldn't normally see it unless you're sort of extracting all of that detail. And it's just given the whole picture a kind of like almost like a painting look, which is kind of something a little bit different. I love the way that his hands were coming out to the picture as if he's sort of picking you up for the canvas to sort of slam you down, which is what he often does. Bit of dry ice in here, a simple 2-light setup, 1 light coming across the subject here and 1 just sort of hitting to give us a little bit of rim lighting around the edge of the shoulder and back of the head here, and just using those hands, not clasping them together, but just bring them into the point where they are sort of beginning to clasp together, and a real simple look into camera there. Working with his profile here and working with the back tattoos and the huge dragons that he's got on there, and just trying to make as much intensity out of that shot as possible. And then a much more serene one, not trying to ham it up with the expression, just a simple expression, a simple look into the camera, simple story being told with the tattoos there, and making sure that we can see just about both catch lights in the eyes. Nose just breaking the cheek there. Maybe we would like to bring that round just a little bit more, but other than that, a pretty safe shot there. And going back to this high key sort of style again, I kind of like this one. Just had him sat down in the middle of the studio, have him looking over my shoulder. I take a position up on the floor and just look up towards him with the hands again, looking dominating in the foreground. And then the who you looking at one, straight into camera again, making the most of those tattoos there, and just trying to tell a little bit of story. Two kicker lights either side and a simple light in the foreground. Add a grey background to that instead of my black background, and you've pretty much got your typical WWE studio lighting set up there. And then this is the one here. This is the one that we chose to use. Just bring him up, just getting him to give that little beard a stroke there for me, and just got him to do it a few times before I actually sort of captured the right moment with that intense look straight into the camera and the single kicker light on the left hand side here. So it's this image that made it through to the final panel, so we're going to pop him in there next to Martin. Join us next week. If you've liked this video, then hit the like button or hit the subscribe button. Tell people about it. You can follow me on the Instagram and the Twitter at Y2JimBob. It's Portrait of a Wrestler everywhere else, and as ever, all the very best.